microphone on axis. It's only a few inches away from the screen, because I was doing listening and comparing and such, and then noticing other frequencies seem to be giving a little bit of frequency masking. You only have to have a certain part of a soundtrack with a certain part of a frequency sound effects such as such to be just a few dB high to cause a little kind of frequency masking. Not exactly right over there because the sound is coming out this way and one side of the ear or both sides, or depending on what's going on, and then you notice there's some frequency masking going on. It's sort of like re-evaluating everything, and then just maybe sort of like say, okay, move the microphone a very small few inch away from the screen, so it's still on axis pointing at the HF horn. And then anyway, I did a frequency sweep, but if I were to, what did I use to? I just used this. This is just a few inches, and I just sort of like stuck it like that way against the screen, and then just so get the microphone so it goes against that, and then it'd be and then I'll just move it over to the next one and the next and just check it, just because it's a little awkward just to get up there and just measure quickly with the tape measure. So I just thought, no, just, and I could probably come back just a little bit more, but not too much. I don't want to come all the way back here because then it just gets really muddly. That's still not even, but it's doable to fix it with EQ. But I'm completely exhausted on PEQ on the DCX. So there's still some bands here that are just completely like a roller coaster ride. But well, if you want to see what it looks like before without the EQ. Okay, overlay, and it's a bit like that. So that's the purplish one there. So it's dropping off here a little bit down here because it needs adjusting. It's a little bit like all over there, and it's a little bit elevated and louder. Thus, some of the lower frequencies down here on the HF horn. So it's just going to be a little bit too loud up here, loudish. So it's not going to sound like high fidelity now, is it? So I'll just bring it down a little bit, but still, if I have to juggle with the other thing, where is it? So I'll just put that EQ back on. Okay. Also, just like I say, it just gives a little bit of extension down on the, because this horn's HFs, if they were coupled with the other device that goes with it, that's very large, very big. They're doable to go down right down to 200 hertz. But I've only got it set to go down to about 300 and about 300 hertz. But it still will go down a little bit lower, so I'll start the frequency sweep at about 200 hertz. This is only applicable to this room, so it's not going to work for anyone else. But if you were to look at it, evaluate the speakers with the microphone pretty close, and then see what it looks like. If you got a system that's running mismatched speakers, like two large speakers on the left and right and something dinky and tiny in the middle, forget about it. You'll be wasting your time and chasing your tail around in circles endlessly. if you don't use matching speakers and behind the screen, because they don't belong in front, because that's not where they go. People got this sort of fear that oh, I'm going to miss out the high frequencies and all that. Yeah, if you can hear the high frequencies, of course, the upper high frequencies. Otherwise, I've heard those in cinemas, it's not a problem, but as you gradually get older, it rolls off and off and off and off, and don't forget, my hearing rolls off, and you've got to put some sort of elevation, and so you just notice. I can just notice just barely up to 16k, but it's very faint, and there it is. And there's lots of things that go. There's a lot more to it. Preferably, it'd been better if I had set up all the microphones, because it's just moving that every now and then. I haven't redone the left center, right center yet, so do that later. And it's like, well, look at that waveform, or the Spectrum RTA. It's just like, they look like waves. They just go up and down, up and down. They should all be consistently the same level. And going in close here, between each point where it steps up and so forth, there's very tiny frequencies, and to get that flat, if I were to say clear the board, reset all the PEQs back to, and then go through that, I mean, I can make it maybe okay. I could probably make it worse, but got to keep so when every time subtracting frequencies, or maybe applying some boost, but very carefully. I've got audio limiters, so there's not a chance of any soundtracks that's going to bust those speakers, unless I'm ridiculously careless, or there's no way of telling that any part of DSP technology can fail and then put out a very nasty signal, because the amplifier level gains, their gain are set really high. Anyway, odds of that happening are very, very, very slim. So yeah, that could be a little bit better, compared to the where is it? Frequency sweep on, so ignore the purple, turn the red one off. Yeah, it's low down there and it's elevating up a bit. Yaha, okay. On this one, it's more or less different. It's a little bit high there. There's a bit of a trough on some of the frequencies here. That's not a problem. That's fixable. I mean, it's like where all these, that's probably either the design of the CD compression driver, diaphragm and so forth. But it's like, if I want to reach that, I mean, all I have to do is put some filter to go along here, and then just lower this down until this level up here is almost equal with this level down here, and then just If I think these peaks look a little bit, I don't know. But to an amplifier is nice and smooth and flat. But to a loudspeaker, it's the complete opposite. And you gotta look at it in closely, like, well, why does that sound pan or this whatever? And sound pans don't really move this like that. They're just fading down on the fader and just pushing it over to the next speaker and raising the flipping fader levels up. And yeah, it sounds like, you know, otherwise speakers panning and moving, otherwise the speaker would physically be moving. If you move the speaker physically, playing pink noise very slowly, you can hear how it's sounding and changing. And I suppose if you do the test outdoors, it's going to be a total opposite to what you hear inside, because the wall boundaries, when you put your hand close to your mouth, well, it's better when I've got something muted, because my ears are kind of making a little wavy kind of sound, because even though I had that at a low level, but still, you got to wear earplugs. You know, there's my earplugs there. You got to put earplugs in, otherwise that multi-tone can be very disorientating. You get that effect. In any case, you know, that's like the effect where, you know, the speakers are near to a wall or whatever. They're going to be near to any sort of boundary in a room, whether it's the ceiling, the floor. Oh yeah, recently I've seen some, oh my goodness, you know, screen speakers should be at least about middle height behind the screen. I saw this home theatre thing. He's building it from scratch. Oh, it's too bad he's only got 3 screen speakers, not 5. But his screen speakers are a little bit too low down to near to the floor, and he's gone a little bit over the top with all this bass wave Trinnov forming. Yeah, but his screen speakers are way too low. That's not where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be at least a little bit about mid-height behind the screen. Yeah, if I had just a little bit more EQ power, I could probably sort that. It's sounding okay better at the moment. You know, I listen to little sound, you know, sounds where I should hear clear sounds in the center, and while there's other sounds going on left or right that might have different sound effects as such, and they got to be a certain level. Otherwise, if they're a little bit too high, boom, I get frequency masking effect. The same applies to this, the speakers for the surrounds. Doesn't matter, you know, I could have a single speaker down on the blooming floor and it's playing way too loud or in frequency or such, and bam, just a single little tiny speaker like that can cause a huge frequency masking effect, because it arrives at our ear and causes a masking effect. You know, it's just like CB radio, like being on the when you hear all the bands, all the stations, and they're all on one channel, and you get this signals just moving up and down like this, you know, and then you get one signal that's moving up really high, and you think, oh, well, I can hear him, you know. Got to have everything smoothly, consistently balanced.